Welcome to 6'5 Guys Gear Update. I'm Steve Lawrence.
And I'm Ed Mobley.
Ed, I think I may have told you that story that when I was working on some things in my reloading room, I was using this bench and had to move it and had actually this rifle on it, sitting right to the edge. And as I was putting it back into position, I hit this carpet and the rifle took a dump.
So you want to demonstrate it again right here for the viewers?
Preferably no, but what happened is, yeah, I was on that side when it hit the carpet, which doesn't have padding underneath it. It's just sitting right on concrete. It literally just fell over, and I couldn't grab it quick enough, and it dropped right on the concrete.
So now, why is that notable? Because afterwards, Steve took the rifle out.
Yeah, it was actually the day before a match, and I wanted to make sure that my Zero was unaffected. I wanted to chrono some rounds, and no change. I was astounded that no shift at all in my Zero, and even when I shot groups, shot as if nothing had happened.
So I think what's notable is the rings that you had on there were these rings here from APA. And you know, we had this in the queue to do a video, but I think it's kind of noteworthy that you had that incident. Clearly, I mean, obviously it has something to do with the scope as well, but yeah, you know, the rings as well need to be very, very robust.
Yeah, and again, full disclosure, APA sent us out these test and eval rings. So, you know, this was, so again, thank you to APA for providing these rings, which actually I've been running for almost about 9 months, you know, close to a year. We've had these rings and fully field tested, right? This is the scope, this is my current match gun. You know, I've been running these rings in another rig, actually moved them over to this rifle, which is the match rifle for this year. Had this out in New Mexico, taken this to several matches, and rock solid performance. I haven't taken the scope out of the rings since mounted.
And so there are a lot of rings out there. Now, one thing that's a little different is the
geometry of
the geometry. So the screws come in there at a 45-degree angle, and you know, some may or may not have a concern or preference, you know, for one way or the other.
Yeah, I think, you know, as I mounted the rings to my rifle, it's a little bit more challenging ergonomically, right? Because you either have to get down to get a clear view of where you're going to be engaging these screws, these torque screws. So there's actually 2 torque screws that come in. And I think from an engineering standpoint, it's pretty interesting the way these squeeze onto the Picatinny rail, because there's actually a 45-degree cut on the downside. So you're engaging that surface directly rather than pinching like typical rings do from a 90 and not coming in against that flat surface.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of debate about, you know, Picatinny geometry and, you know, the best way to attack that, but I just think it's very interesting that I mean, you drop this onto a concrete floor, and these rings certainly did the job.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, you know, as you're looking for rings, these you know, you may want to consider these.
Yeah, the other unique thing that I found is just the Torx screw selection that he's used. So typically in a lot of rings that I'm using, they're using like a T15 bit. These actually use a T10, so there's 4
so
T10s.
They're a little smaller.
A little bit smaller.
Okay.
So we'll see over the test of time how those hold up. You know, some guys will mount and unmount their scope. I tend to like to mount a scope for the season and keep it there.
Oh, absolutely.
But you know, if you're running a nice optic across several rifles, your mileage may vary. But I've gone with the recommended torque setting, and it's just performed flawlessly.
And so if folks want to get a hold of these, what should they do?
American Precision Arms, the APA website. So go check them out for availability and pricing. They do come in a variety of sizes and heights. So
and yeah, diameters and whatnot. Okay, well, terrific, Steve. Thanks for being the
The guinea pig.
the crash test dummy for these.
Yeah.
Well, folks, we hope you found this useful. Remember, life's an adventure.
Stay on target.